it's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, it's Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. So we have had such a pleasure, and I'm going to actually correct that. I have had such a pleasure getting to know and meet leaders around the globe, so many people in the United States who have amazing backgrounds, journeys, stories that we continuously learn from. You know, today's guest, Marilena, which I know I'm pronouncing wrong, but you're going to correct me, Fallaris, is a vice president at a law firm in Los Angeles. They do employment law, and that's like her day gig. Her passion project, you know, and as you get to know Marilena, is she's the daughter, she's the best friend, she's a wife, she's a mom. More than anything, she's Greek, Norwegian, American, and a few other things. She's a dancer. She's ridiculously enthusiastic about the Seahawks, and that's the Seattle Seahawks, for those of you who's like, oh, wait, is that an LA team? I thought that was something else. So no, it's the Seattle Seahawks football followers. She recently published a book. Her new book came out called Womenemies. And I'm really interested in hearing about the journey that brought you to become an author, how a woman with a young child can be a vice president of something, a writer, a mom, and everything else you do. So welcome to today's Her Success Story.
Thank you, Ivy. It's such a pleasure, and I'm so excited to be on this podcast. I'm a follower of your podcast, and I just think what the message you're getting out is so amazing about other women sharing their successes and learning from each other. So thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. So first of all, can you give me the correct pronunciations of everything?
Absolutely. It's Marilena Fallaris.
Marilena.
Yeah, Marilena. But it's Marilena if you want to say it in Greek. But yes, it's very, very good. Marilena. But anywhere close to it, I turn my head.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
So how did you get started? Are you originally from Southern California? I know you did your schooling back east. You've kind of popped around. Let's first start with your career journey, and then look at the life journey and how it has intertwined.
Oh, absolutely. Well, just to answer quickly question, yes, I popped around. I was born in Greece, raised in Seattle, Washington, did my schooling on the East Coast for undergrad, University of Massachusetts, and went to Pepperdine Law School in Malibu, a very, 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 very beautiful place. And that's where I got my roots in Southern California. Regarding my career, I think my career started when I was in college, but also in law school. You know, I clerked, I graduated top of my class, summa cum laude at Pepperdine Law, and I learned so much. I went a different route. You know, with people with my background, I was expected to go into the big fancy corporate law, and I tell everyone, you need to try everything while you're in school. So I clerked for one of those corporate firms, amazing firm. I just realized it wasn't for me. I wanted to know that I was using my background to feel like I was connecting with the client. So I then graduated law school. I got into estate planning, which I adored and loved because I was seeing the people I was helping navigate through some difficult issues. And then I actually transitioned to the business side of law, which has been even more fulfilling. And I was in an international mediation, arbitration, dispute resolution company for many years as a manager, as well as a practice development marketing. And so at that international dispute resolution company where I was in operations and practice development marketing, I was mentored, and that's where I got a lot of my managerial experience. After being there for a couple of years, I was on maternity leave. After coming back from maternity leave, I was asked by a friend of mine, dear friend, who started this employment law firm that had grown pretty quickly, to come over as vice president. And I love their mission. They help people who've been wronged by their employer, and there's so many different aspects to that. And I came in on the operational side, and I like to say I've mentored others, but I've learned every day so much from my team. So that's a quick snippet of my professional career. And then on also professional, I published the book Womenemies that I've been working on for about 10 years.
So tell us a little bit what drove you to become an author.
So it's what drove me to become an author was almost a decade ago. I was engaged to not my now husband. I was engaged to somebody else. I was finishing law school after law school, and I got a message from the other woman that I didn't know existed. And I ended up ending things, even though I had my wedding dress and everything. I knew I deserved better. Fast forward a year later, she started emailing me and attacking me, which I never blamed her. So we went back and forth twice in email, but then it really got me to think how women treat each other. And there's different instances in their lives where they treat each other negatively. And I wanted to kind of highlight that because I feel a lot of people say they end the conversation with women just need to be nice to each other and uplift each other, but how? So each chapter shows the negative effects that we can be enemies to each other, but each chapter also ends with a positive lesson of how we can uplift, and also positive examples, because as many negatives that there have been, I've had 10 times more positives, but I feel like people focus on the negative. I've been uplifted in my career as a mother, as a friend. So each chapter has, don't be a gossip, don't be the other woman, don't be a woman's cause of stress in the workforce, because I think that's something that people need to speak up a lot more, but then also show how people can uplift. And I've been uplifted by many successful, amazing women who I then try to pay it forward. So that's the book, and it ends on a very positive note, and it talks about the negative effects and then how can we fix it, and gives a guidebook.
So in doing everything you do, so your little one is young, I remember.
22 months old, and I said that a week I would finish my first draft before I gave birth, because I'd been working for 10 years, and I finished it 1 week before I gave birth. And he's 22 months now, and he's a joy. He's the love. Him and my husband are the loves of my life.
So how do you vice president at a law firm, a true toddler, right?
Yes.
You're a toddler stage, writing a book. How do you manage, even book aside, young kids, leadership position how do you manage that?
You need to take off that mask of perfection. You need to ask for help like your life depended on it. And you need to live in the moment and be kind to yourself first. That is something I believe I've learned the hard way through the years, but especially in 2019, my father had come to help us for 7 months when we moved from Orange County to LA. Navigating LA childcare is not easy, so having a 7-month plan was really helpful for us. Well, plans changed, and he got sick, and I had to take care of him in addition to starting exactly at that time my new job and being a mother to a then 7-month-old. And I, of course, had my husband's help. We're a team. I burnt myself out. My father ended up getting better and then going to Greece and unexpectedly passing, and having to deal with all that, which I'm still dealing with because it's been, less than a year, almost a year now. I wake up every morning, I go to bed, and I remind myself what I'm grateful for. We had an amazing caregiver for my child we found. She's an angel. She's a member of our family. Now he's in preschool. But when I say asking for help, women think they need to do it all. In the workforce, I used to be the same way. And you don't feel like when you've asked for help, you think you're saying, I can't do everything. And the truth is you can't do everything, but you can do most things better if you have people supporting you and being vulnerable. When I was vulnerable in work in my life, there were so many people out there that were willing to help that I didn't even know about, and relying on your community so that you can focus on what drives you. So whether that's on a Saturday saying I have a couple hours and I know I can do all this housework. I know I can take care of my son and be there, but I need 1 hour of mommy time alone, and asking a friend to come over for an hour just for me to sit in silence. I did it. And it took a while for me to get there, but that's how I navigate it. And I just put my priorities first, and then everything else can wait.
So what I'm hearing you say is really live with the principle of putting your oxygen mask on first. And
Yes.
when you do that, and it's interesting in the times that we have been going through now, in the experience that COVID-19 is teaching us, how to remember that as a principle of the more you stop for a moment, take care of yourself, take that breath.
Yes.
And then I'll always say, take the second and the third. Because one just doesn't do it for me. I don't know about you listeners, but those 3 breaths gives me that enough, like, minute transition.
Yes. It's, and putting your oxygen mask first, I definitely go by that mentality. It also means being your best friend. I feel like my internal monologue, what has got me to my success was the internal pressure I put on myself. No one has put enough pressure than anyone else than on myself, but also stepping away and saying, you're doing a good job. Being a positive person and best friend to yourself first will make you then be a great leader to other people. And they will take that on and pay it forward, how I have been inspired by my mentors. And so I have to always remind myself that, because I would never tell a best friend, a direct report, a colleague, the things that have gotten in my head. You needed to be better. You should. So that's what I talk about in my book. Women need to stop shoulding themselves and congratulating themselves and saying, okay, this is the next goal that I'm going to get and I'm going to tackle it, rather than saying you need to do all these things. The should part needs to go to the wayside.
I can't agree more. And we can be so hard on ourselves.
Yes.
In creating expectations that are not put on us by anyone, yet ourselves.
It's that inner dialogue, and we need to, and I've been working actively. I have to work every day to fix it. And it's that, and when you have so many roles, I should be a better mother. I should be more at work. I should be calling in my couple hours that I'm not sleeping. I should be doing this. And there's always something to do, but you need to take a step back and say, what are my priorities? And I'm doing a great job, because again, I would never tell another mother, you should be doing all these things. It's just something in our head that we use to succeed, but we need to figure out how to find that balance. So yeah, absolutely.
So what has surprised you in your leadership journey? There's always, leadership, life, business. I'll always say it's not a destination. It's not going from here to there. It's an adventure. And 2020 had kicked off with this wild adventure we're living. What has surprised you, and taking this experience of the COVID-19 aside for a second,
right?
What has surprised you in growing as a leader, growing as a woman, growing as a mom, all of the above?
It's what I just said earlier, taking the mask off and not being afraid to be your 100% self, whether it's in the workforce, whether it's in home, whether it's as a friend. I was always taught, be the good girl, get all your high grades, follow everything that you have in order. When you're in your career, you're one person. When you're at home, you're another person. Don't mix those lives. And that might work for some people. What I realized is I had a lot of dissonance when I was doing that. So when I learned to just be myself, a lot of people are saying you're too nice to be an attorney. You shouldn't manage in a positive, nice way because people are going to walk all over you. Leave that for your personal life. Well, what I learned as a leader is I'm going to be myself. And by showing my transparent self to my colleagues and to my direct reports, and to my friends and home and to fellow mothers that I have in all my groups is that when you're your 100% self, people will lean in on you and you can lean in on them, and they will value and know that you're not being fake. You know, when you try to be something else, you're fake, even though people have always groomed you to be that way. So I would say I've learned most is that, you know, just completely not always editing yourself before you speak. Sometimes you have to, but and it's okay to be vulnerable to your direct report and say, I need to learn this from you. You know, when I first started at my new firm, I sat around and I first took the time for 30 minutes to an hour with each person in the firm to ask them, how can this firm be better? What do you like from here? So I think it's just what I've learned and been surprising is that just unapologetically be yourself. And when you're living in yourself, wherever you are in life, you'll just feel so much better and you'll get to focus on the work rather than constantly editing yourself.
How has the transition been for you from and your firm to all of a sudden to so much remote? And, you know that we always record at different times. And, you know, COVID-19 is not going away so quick. We're going to go through phases and adjustments. How has, as a business leader, and especially the people who report to you, how do you show up with them? How do we guide them well?
You got to show up with positivity every day. If you show up with stress or saying, we have to get this done, oh no, and having that panic, it's only going to then spread to them, and that's going to spread to their direct reports. It's also letting go and knowing that you have a great team and trust them to do their job rather than following up all the time as they've done that, and trust them to report back to you on certain things so that you can focus on making the administration change. I did a webinar, it feels like last week, but it's been longer than last week. It was April 1st on the PPP loans and and just, you know, navigating through that. So I couldn't be everywhere. And again, this goes back to our conversation. You can't do everything. So you have to ask for help and trust in others that they're going to be doing their jobs. And I think when you give that trust, I'm so proud of this team because we're a plaintiff's employment firm. No one worked remotely. You know, people, the attorneys, if they were in depositions, they could work remotely, but being in the office to answer the paralegals and the attorneys are team members. So they have to ask each other questions. They have to be, you know, constantly in the office, you know, so we've moved all but 4 people remotely, and it's been working because people check in on their teams, people are doing their work, and you have to let go of the fear that people aren't doing their work, and seeing people, giving them the opportunity to step up, they will. And just, we have communication. At the end of the week, we check in with our teams every day via Zoom chat. Everyone has their own way, and we're learning as we go. But the most important things is our team and our clients. And I try to, every Friday, one leadership tip is when I would walk into the office, I would go around to the whole firm on both sides of the floor and say good morning and make eye contact with everybody. And that's who I am. That's not who everybody is. But I've been doing that just once a week, sending we have an IM chat through our case management software, just saying, happy Friday, have a great weekend, just something to touch every person in the firm. So you can still find a way to be yourself. You just have to figure it out. And then I would say you got to let go and know that some things there's going to be some mistakes made, and you're going to learn from them because this is new to everybody. So
in the tip area,
yes,
some of our biggest obstacles in life is actually asking for help.
Yes.
You know, we will go down and, you know, this isn't a female or a male thing. This is a human nature thing. Asking for help or feeling that we should, again, it's that shoulding on one another, mostly on ourselves, be able to do things, et cetera, et cetera. So in that way, what can you share with our listeners in tips or strategies in starting to ask for help more, being more, not authentic, but unveiled in it, that not only can we sometimes not do things on our own, but why do we feel we have to? How do we start asking?
It's a great question. I mean, my gut reaction is to say you have to start, even if it's something small. And if you feel it's really hard, you have to start. Whether you need to just, when you're at home, with wherever you feel the most comfortable asking for help, start there, and then make a conscious effort every single day to ask for help for in different areas of your life. I think the reason why we don't is back to the inner critic. We say we're asking for help. That means I can't do something. That means I am less. Where actually the best leaders, some of the most well-rounded people and the most successful people are the ones that ask for the most help, are the ones that have people, when people are saying, I have my, assistant check all their emails. I don't have an assistant yet, so I check all my emails. But finding a way to have people help you will then empower them to help you, and also give that you're basically giving them something to learn. Whether, my husband, I had to let go when I had to unexpectedly go to Greece, and when my father passed, I was in Greece, and I had to let go, and I didn't see my son for 11 days, and he was 11 months old at the time. And I could have micromanaged him and said, are you feeding him at these days? Is he getting, the amount of sleep? But I also had to know, okay, even if he's not wearing the matching socks, or, the place isn't clean, my husband has this, and asking for more help. But I think the hardest thing is you need to tell yourself it's okay, and you're actually going to help others by asking for help. And I think that's where you start. It's something I struggle with every single day, because I don't want to put anything more on other people's plates. So I become, go ahead.
I want to ask you about your comment here about how does it help others when you ask for help?
It helps others. It empowers them. It says, this person is trusting me with something. And it might be an experience they haven't done yet. You might know something so well and know how to do it like the back of your hand, but someone else maybe has not had that experience. One of my favorite experiences, one of the best managers I've ever had, she would say, can you help me with this project? And now looking back, she already knew how to do that project, but she would ask me. So I felt honored that my boss was asking me to do this project, and then I learned from it. So you're helping people because they see that you trust them, you're growing closer to them, and they get to have an experience they haven't had yet. And then they will learn to ask for help from others in the same manner.
So how can our audience learn more and follow you, or connect to you? Obviously, check out your book.
Yes. So there's a couple, I've on Twitter and Instagram, I'm Asteri Marilena. You can go to my book, actually, Womenemies.com, Womenemies, has all my social media handles there. I'm also on Facebook as well, Marilena Fallaris, CSS. But that will all be on the website that you can just click. And that's how you can find out. I'm always, I look at all social media and my emails, usually at night when I'm done with all my work, but I'm happy to talk with people if they have questions or want me to speak or have a consultation or just want to have a chat with a fellow woman colleague.
Awesome. Listeners, definitely connect, reach out. Marilena is a beautiful leader, a woman who has accomplished an enormous amount in a very young age. And is a great example of showing up with a what can I do attitude and moving through. We all have some stuff in our life. We've all had different things. That's what leadership is about. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up and showing through and following through and moving through the obstacles that are put out there in this world. And great leaders navigate it. So ask for help, reach out, don't be alone, don't feel stifled. There's a great amount of resources out there. Hopefully Marilena and I are both on your list of resources. See you next time. Remember to subscribe to Her Success Story. And most importantly, please let us know what your biggest takeaways from this episode are. Click below and say, hey, this really resonated with me. I use this as an enormous piece to see insight, know what you want, reach out to other wonderful people to have great conversations with. Marilena, thanks for being here today. Listeners, see you next time.
Thank you.
Don't need your approval anymore, 'cause I've got mine.